Welcome to another episode of my Motortown playthrough. Today we are back in the desert. I didn't actually expect to be making this video, but something came up. I came around here, had a vehicle recovery that's somewhere on this road. I don't know exactly where I got it from, but I drove it up north, got to the gas station, and there was another one over here. So I thought, why not combine the two into one delivery and just load everything onto the Lomax? Easier said than done though, and I ended up with this little setup over here, which I'm going to now use in order to hopefully load up the SUV onto the back of the Lomax, and let's see how that's gonna go. I just thought this entire thing was too funny not to show you guys, and yeah, basically using the Brutus Wrecker, the crane of that vehicle, to just pull up the cars onto the back. Initially, I actually drove a Pulio onto the Lomax, but that wouldn't have left any more space for the SUV. So I need to be a bit more efficient with how I space everything out. But this seems to be working pretty well. So let's see how that's gonna go. I was actually prepping to do another tow trucking episode soon enough using the Brutus Wrecker. I kind of just, well, had a lot of vehicles down here and I didn't feel like that would make for a too interesting episode. After all, it's not too much with recovery, but a whole lot of driving. Also, weirdly enough, especially around Gappa, I used to have a lot of trailers that needed to be towed. And I would rather do something with actual vehicles and stuff like that. But let's see, I think this is a good enough setup for trying to just position the car. Also gonna get rid of the handbrake. And I think at this point I can also just despawn the Pulio again. No real need to keep it just somewhere stuck around the map. Having my vehicles all over the map isn't really how I want to play this. But now on to the more interesting part. First up, let's raise the boom a bit. I'm not entirely sure if I can completely clear the dory or if a rope is gonna break if it clips through the dory, but we'll see about it. I think I can also... Okay, I knew that I had a bit more space in the boom for it to extend, but I hoped it'd be a tiny bit more. So, yeah, let's take the hook. Okay, this is holding, this is good. So let's get the remote control. And sit inside the SUV. Gonna slowly pull it in and just steer it a bit to hopefully position it halfway in the middle. Somewhere like that. Maybe I could even go for a third vehicle after this one is on. Would be partially on the loading ramp, but that should be alright. Okay, let's pull the handbrake and get out of here and just fully fixate the wheels. Let's see, is there any other vehicle that we could take also? I mean, oh, that's actually pretty close to the road. Maybe I'll go back and grab one of these since I'm here already. That's the bus. I think that's a small SUV. That would be an option. Elisa Taxi would also be one. Also, I hope that everything here goes to Olle Raceway, which would be preferable over Gangyang. I don't know if Gangyang will give me any more money than Olle, but at least it's for certain that it would be a longer trip. But yeah, these are done with. Well, if I wanna go for the other vehicles, I think I'm gonna just try it with the Pulio. I think that will be the better option over overtaking the Brutus Wrecker, because then once I come back here, I would have to position it again. I'm an idiot. I mean, you've likely seen my driving in the recent racing event, and I don't really need to say that I'm an idiot now. It's pretty clear just from that. I also want to give a slightly more in-depth review about how that event went down for me. I already talked a bit about me not being too excited for that whole thing because of, yeah, just how long you had to drive before even getting to a repair station if you had any type of damage on your car. It worked out pretty well in that regard, but I completely underestimated how some of the other areas would go, especially around Jeju. In the end, I think I had like 1 or 2 complete practice rounds and then a few more just around the deserty parts. And that clearly wasn't enough. Having a track that long and really just being a point-to-point race, it makes it pretty difficult just getting a few practice rounds in. So let's see, I kinda want to go for the Magis, Mages, whatever. But in the end, a lot of other people seem to enjoy that race, and well, for me, if that track comes up again, I will see what kind of vehicles we are going to be using. If it's another one like what we had today, I might just give it a skip. I definitely need to participate in more races in order to get better at racing in this game, but I would rather... oh no, it's the Supra, I forgot. I was thinking about a completely different car, but this definitely works out as well. Especially since it's not upside down or something. So yeah, I need to do more racing. I need to get better in it in order to perform better at the events. But when it comes to events like this, I may just need to get better before participating in something like that again. Otherwise, I'm not gonna have really a good time with it. Let's check this real quick. Yep, this is going to Olle as well. So that's definitely pretty good. And yeah, when it comes to the Brutus Wrecker, I'll just need to wait until I get a few more recoveries to spawn, especially somewhere in Jeju. I don't think going back and forth between Jeju Island and the desert all the time is that amazing. I'm honestly kind of getting a bit bored of that myself, at least with the same old road all the time. It would be different if we maybe had like a garage somewhere on this island. I guess it makes just different jobs around here a bit more interesting when it's really long hauling and you have to be careful about your damage that you do to your truck and all of that, because there's no convenient way to just repair all of it. But at some point I hope we get yeah, just some more infrastructure in here. Definitely a few upsides to not having it, that's what I'm meaning to say. Also, from what I've heard, talking to some of the TWL folks, there are a few who just got rid of their Polio or just don't use it anymore. I still like to use both of them. I mean, the Brutus, of course, hands over fist, whatever. It easily wins when it comes to heavy duty recoveries, going off road, flipping cars over, and all of that. And I want to make an episode just dedicated showing how that all is going to work out. This is not going to be this one, however. But I think the Polio still has a decent place in the roster just because it has a higher top speed. So if you have some easier deliveries like this one over here, the Polio really shines at bringing the stuff home over longer distances. Mine at least can make it up to 150 kilometers, where the Brutus is maybe 110, 120, whatever. And that really feels like quite the difference when it comes to the highway and just this entire area in general. Okay, I think this is looking nice. So let's go get the crane. And I've seen people suggest that the Lomax itself should have a winch on it. I wouldn't be against it, but from what I've seen, the model the Lomax is based on wouldn't have a winch on it. So that's why the modelers are kind of against it, it seems. I think in the end it would just make the entire thing a bit more useful, but this is a really specialized piece of equipment, and it's meant to use, or it's meant to be used for heavy duty vehicles. Oh, we're gonna get tied on the rear wheels. I thought I wasn't sure about it, but yeah, I thought this wouldn't be possible. I mean, in the end, the front wheels are something that I would really only want to tie down once the ramp is raised a little bit at least. You know what? If I properly planned ahead, I would likely put the Magus in the middle and the SUV on the back because of the ride height, but as it is right now, I guess it's gonna have to do. So let's cut the cable, get rid of all of the tow trucks, and then we're gonna go on the road. This should hopefully make a decent amount of money. I found that a lot of stuff that I want to do sooner than later kinda needs a lot of money to be set up. I already bought myself a dump truck, but I also need one of those mixer trucks in order to get the construction jobs fully done. Theoretically, I could just go with dump truck and just keep delivering sand to the concrete factory, but in the end, what I really want to do is bring the concrete back to the construction site and then have that give me the fine sand. It seems to be like 50% more valuable than the regular sand. Okay, this is going to be quite a trip. I don't even know if you're gonna make it in this episode. It's kind of... It was long enough getting everything set up here. But we'll see how far we can get. And yeah, everything goes to the same place, which is nice. Also seems like everything is slightly offset to the right, which is not amazing, but should be alright. Also, I've been hoping to see another update for this game sooner than later, but right now it seems like they are doing quite a lot of testing for this stuff. There might be um, a new logging truck or something like that, or maybe logging trailer up in the next update, which I'm looking forward to. I mean, I said it in the past, but let me repeat it. I would really like for them to finalize all the trailers they want in this game, or at least for the ones that they still want to get rid of from the asset pack items. Just get the replacements so that everything that is in the game is something that we can also buy for ourselves. I, of course, would not object to other trailers being added in the future. It was just a really poor way of wording it. I fully expect these vehicles to take quite a bit of damage during the off-road section. That's another thing that I would be looking forward to, just getting another road through the island here that doesn't have a dirt patch. I also would like one that's mostly dirt. Would be kind of nice for rallies and that stuff. But what we have right now, it's a bit awkward. That's another thing that I wanted to talk about regarding the event. After all, it was mostly asphalt, but also yeah, this little dirt road section and also Gappa. And for me, it was a bit of an awkward amount of dirt. It wasn't really enough to make your setup just really go in deep on that. Just really take that into account too much, because that would be worse for all the other stuff. But in the end, it was also kind of too much to just ignore, so I don't know. When it comes to making a race like that goes from all the way down south at the refinery around most of the roads of the map, or at least most of the major ones, then yeah, of course you would need to have at least some dirt in there, because there's no way around this section over here right now. But I think I'd rather have rally focused events that have a bit more focus on dirt, or just races that stay completely on completely paved roads and that stuff. Completely on entirely paved roads, whatever. I really can't talk. Another thing that I want to focus on is just buying a few more properties around the place. Just as teleportation options, that would really be quite handy at this point. Just being able to get from A to B a bit quicker and not having to rely on my motorhome all that much. So I'll likely be trying some of that soon enough. I've seen a rather cheap property near Jeju. Of course, we also still have one building that I put onto that larger plot near the heavy duty dealership that still needs furniture and all of that. I kind of didn't feel like doing that recently, but at some point I definitely want to get into the whole furniture stuff as well. But that's likely gonna have to wait for another day. That guy behind me is slowly catching up. Honestly, right now I cannot really get over the load that we are carrying right now. I think this is this is really quite fun and awesome. It just really looks amazing. And at least it's not quite as slow as the tanker deliveries. I've done a few of those since the refinery came out, but in the recent past, not all that many. It's still quite interesting, and you cannot just lay back and fall asleep doing those trips, which I really appreciate, but it's also quite a commitment that I don't want to do all the time. I think next up we are gonna get a bit more of an expansion on the West End Road going around the coast. And I think at that point I might do a few more trips using that road for the deliveries, just seeing how that goes. But right now with how things are, I would rather do a few other activities, just so that things don't get stale or something. I don't want to have same thing happen as on my first account that I ever made. Not really account, the first character on this account here. Where I basically just found that military crates were just the best thing to do for money, and then I just went way too deep on those and barely did anything else. And in the end, I just ended up deleting that account because it felt like with the stuff that I had, the things I was doing there wasn't really much of a point in doing anything besides military crates, and that was a bit of a shame. I still think that military crates pay quite a decent amount of money, especially cool since they don't use cargo scaling. But right now there are quite a few other jobs that can also take it up there. And compared to stuff like food deliveries, they don't really stack up too much. There's definitely quite a few jobs that pay worse than the top tier stuff, but it also kind of depends sometimes on your setup and everything. I still want to make an episode where I take the last bus of the game, the Greyhound looking one, and just take it around one of my longer routes to see how it compares to doing tanker deliveries. I know that it's not gonna be amazing, but well, I think if I have a route set up correctly and everything, it should be still a decent amount of money. I can't imagine what kind of nightmare it's gonna be fine-tuning and adjusting all the payments so that at some point everything should be decent money if you do the high-level stuff. Besides all of this, another thing that I would like to tackle sooner than later is getting myself a Ford Focus looking car with a four-wheel drive. Just upgrading it to be a bit of a track toy, maybe slightly capable of off-roading, so not completely lowered or anything. And then also have that as urgency taxi. My starter taxi, the lowrider, it works out decently well for doing both, but yeah, when it comes to some stuff, it cannot really hold a candle to the faster vehicles. I tried a few different engines for that, but I don't know if I have the 180 horsepower or 240 horsepower V8 in there now. I think it's the 240 horsepower plus the turbo. But if I go anything above what I have in there right now, the entire thing just becomes completely uncontrollable. So that might be fun for a racing event, but to really cruise around the world and not crash at every occasion. I would rather have something a bit more reliable, or more like a little bit more controllable, so I can drive it a bit more reliably. That's really the issue. The car isn't unreliable, it's my driving style. Always gotta be aware of that. I think that's also a thing that I can use to improve, just having a few vehicles like the NASCAR looking one, and just keep driving it. Keep pushing it further to the limit and just see how far I can push it and get better at using it in order to become a better driver and have more success in those events. And yeah, just with the bumpy roads, we've gotten quite a bit of damage on the cars. Not amazing, but I don't know how much slower I would need to be in order to avoid that, so this might still be the better compromise. Also, I also feel like the cars have a bit too much slack while being tied down to the low max. I also noticed the same with my rollback Kira. When it comes to cargo, that seems to be completely frozen to the vehicle once you strap it down. But even the wheels here have a lot of movement. And while I mean, it's clear that of course the suspension would still have a bit of travel. I think at least the wheels should be completely locked down and not be moving around anymore. Then again, I don't know how it's programmed, so that might not even be possible. Having like multiple items collide with each other and that kind of thing isn't always the easiest for any engine to handle. It's actually one of those things that I had a lot of respect for when it came to Railroads Online, because that couldn't have been easy. But the engines and all of that, they have also gotten better at this stuff. So I don't know, I just remember that in the past it used to be a huge problem, especially when it comes to stuff like friction. So just having a player on top of a vehicle and just getting dragged along by it instead of just sliding down or something. That's not always been the case, that it would just work out. But with Motortown, that seems to be on the right path. Thankfully, the bridges here are smooth, so I'm at least not accumulating any more damage. Gonna be interesting to see how much I'm getting for this delivery. Just for the distance that I'm traveling, it should be a decent amount for each car. I don't know how much I'll be getting in terms of bonus here. It's likely gonna be quite a bit of deduction. I may also have to see how I can even unload all of these cars. Since they are roadside recoveries, or even the one on the back just being dragged out of the dirt, they don't allow me to just start up the engine and drive them around. So I may have to pull them off the trailer using the winch again. But it's not gonna be too much longer until we can finally find out about it. God. I should just really turn in a bit more. I don't think it's having any issue with tipping over or something. But just looking at the corners, looking at my speeds, I feel like I have to try and make it smooth, try to not stay on the inside of the corner because it could lead to some issues. Realistically, I don't think it should. Although if you do a few deliveries in this game, you get really careful about this stuff. Either that or you're paying a lot for repairs and putting your vehicle back onto its wheels. But here we are. Delivery almost done. Okay, let's check. Also gonna quickly refresh my buses. I usually just wait for 1 or 2 of them to be in low condition and then just refresh all of them. It's a bit inefficient, but I prefer that over just trying to keep everything on its edge and then just go into the same menu 5 times as often. Okay, this one will roll off on its own. And yeah, that's already 35k, which is nice. Gonna have to wait for that one to despawn. I may also just get my Brutus out in the same breath, while the other one hopefully will clear the delivery area. You know what, I'm gonna try and do this in a smart way. And just not have the vehicles crash right into the Brutus, but instead set it up to the side again. So let's get the boom out. Let's also move it up a little. I can still move it up a bit more. I mean, this should all be fine. Let's grab the hook. And yeah, I need to get rid of the ties before I get the winch controller. Just like that, and let's climb inside the vehicle. If I don't have the vehicle hooked by the tow bar or anything, I need to be inside it anyways. Otherwise it's not really counting as a delivery. And I just need to bring it forward until it hits the ramp. And apparently it still counts as hitting the Brutus, which is not amazing. Okay, that counts, and that's another slightly above 30k. 32 or something, which is cool. Definitely enjoy that. Nice payment over here. For the last one, maybe I just need to get rid of the tires. It should be getting... Oh, it's already going. Apparently I didn't pull the handbrake before. And that's almost 25k, so not quite as much as the others, but still very nice payout. So what was that? 90k or something? Not bad. Certainly not bad. So this definitely paid out quite a bit, despite some of the damages the vehicles have taken under just while being on the way. Still better than transporting all of them individually. And that wouldn't have been it wouldn't have been a guarantee to not damage them either. So I think this went as good as it could have been. So yeah, I might do a few more of those if I see more vehicles down. I mean, there's another three. The Matey we already saw, that's a mid-sized vehicle. Cheetah MK1, again a large one. Elisa Taxi being a small one, so more of those please, and less of the super massive ones. Okay, flatbed. Yeah, maybe in a few episodes we might have another round with Brutus and just take care of some of these other vehicles that are stranded around the place. That wouldn't be the worst idea. But until then, that's gonna be it from my end for this episode. Thanks for watching and see you guys next time. Have a good day and bye bye.